government has to be held accountable. You're absolutely right. In fact, Giriraj Pai Varnakar from the BJP is also here. Giriraj ji, your government now comes out and says, the Goa Tourism Department comes out and says that it's not right to compare Goa with countries like Sri Lanka, Vietnam, and nobody's even doing that. Even basic facilities, like I've been to Goa half a dozen times in the last 6, 7 years. You've been in power there for almost a decade now, more than a decade now. There are basic issues like narrow roads, overcrowded roads, open drains. The electricity doesn't work properly. It's poor. The connection is poor. Internet, there are issues with the internet as well. How do we expect foreign tourists or even domestic tourists to come to Goa when such basic issues are not taken care of?
See, I think I'll come to all the issues one by one. But to begin with, how this whole controversy started was somebody sharing data, claiming it to be authentic, saying Goa has fallen from 8 million tourists to 1.5 million. Now, Goa at the peak of its tourism also has received about zero point 0.9 million. For better understanding, let us say 1 million foreign tourists is the highest we have received, be it in 2017, 18 or 19. In 2023 alone, the data which was placed on the floor of the assembly, which is the highest body in any constitutional setup, says that we have received almost 4.5 lakh tourists, which is almost 50% recovery from the post-COVID era. Also, we have to see that, the entire world and the tourism market is suffering in a post-COVID kind of a scenario. Goa doesn't have many direct international flights. So any tourist who lands, say, at Bombay and comes in a domestic flight will not be considered as a foreign tourist. But having said that, now one of the issues that you talked about is the taxi issue. Now, in the last few years, various apps like Taxi Goa Miles has come up. Goa Taxi app, which has been started by the government itself, has come up. So a lot of these issues are getting addressed. Now, especially when you talk about the roads, I think one of the best infrastructures in the country today, and you will have Goa right at the top. Even in the beach areas, be it Kalangut, be it Baga, the roads have been widened wherever and to whichever extent possible, given the local considerations. But I again say that, when you compare it to countries, it may not be a fair assessment. But my first primary question is, who has validated the data that Goa has received 8 million foreign tourists in any year? So let me say that this is absolutely a systematic plan. I am not surprised as the opposition is trying to pin government down by, claiming fake data. But I am categorical that the assembly data which was placed has.
So, Giriraj, are you saying the number of foreign tourists have gone up in Goa?
See, I have said that at the peak of Goa's tourism, the foreign tourist arrivals were at 1 million, which is about 10 lakhs. And in 2024, now you have again said that, Goa has received only 1.5 million tourists last year. The official data says it was 4.5 lakhs, which is 50% recovery from the high of pre-COVID era. But I think the COVID era has not been factored in at all. As far as tourist security is concerned, I think there are various efforts like tourism police which have been started, Pink Force, which is specifically caters to women, tourists.
Okay.
And
Giriraj, point taken. You're still saying that while the rest of the nation, the rest of the sectors have all recovered from COVID, COVID-related issues, Goa's tourism is still taking a lot of time. Okay, who do we blame it on? We'll talk about it later. But let me also get in Zorawar Kalra here. Zorawar I'll come back to you. Giriraj, I'll come back to you. Let's get in other speakers also. Zorawar, you have a business there in Goa. You interact with domestic as well as foreign tourists as well. Give us your sentiment from there. Is everything as rosy and as perfect as our friend from the BJP here is putting it?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm not going to have a political view. I'm just going to talk from a business perspective and from a perspective of arguably one of the largest GDP enhancing entities within the Goa ecosystem, right? I think over a quarter of or around 25% of the entire GDP of the state of Goa comes from tourism. So it's a very important aspect. It is one of the largest employers of people in Goa. And in my opinion, Goa has always over the years been a matter of pride for the country. I don't think the 8 million people number is accurate because I think, if I remember the numbers, and again, I don't have the exact data, but I think the whole country gets around 10 million. So I don't think 8 million can be limited to Goa. I don't think that number is accurate. At the same time, being in the business in Goa, I think there are some infrastructural issues that can be addressed. But it's such a beautiful place, beautiful people. Some of the nicest people that I've ever worked with in my life come from that city. Yes, there has been an oversupply. I remember opening a restaurant in the right after the COVID. So in I think 2021 December is when I opened one restaurant after the first COVID. Sorry, December of 2020. In fact, we opened a restaurant right after the first COVID and before the second big Delta variant hit, and the numbers were amazing. The whole country did not have options to travel overseas. So there was artificial demand. There was artificial enhanced domestic demand as a result of overseas flights not happening, people not going overseas, a lot of the countries being shut because of the COVID. So that was the golden era. After that, I've seen a rapid decline. I don't think just the infrastructure and other things can be blamed, although they are definitely in need of major enhancement. The roads are terrible, as
Then
you
what's
said.
to blame?
Why not have
Zorawar ji,
Uber
you're
and
saying
Ola?
infrastructure is not to be blamed, poor electricity is not to be blamed, the road condition is not to be blamed. Then what is to be blamed?
Well, I definitely don't think that they are the only factors. There are other competitive aspects that are coming up. People have reduced, slashed down prices in places like Sri Lanka because the economy was in doldrums. So a price of a hotel that was 100 rupees is now 25 rupees and 30 rupees. So there have been other international competitive pressures that have come in. But yes, the Wi-Fi not working in many parts of the country, that's of the state, sorry, is a problem, and the roads remains a problem. But there also seems to be another issue that affects our industry specifically, which is the sound issue, the restaurants shutting down for a state that that relies 25% of its economy on a particular industry. Why not promote it? Why not give it more comfort, give it more support, have the music be allowed? It's a party destination. How can you have music shut at 10 o'clock? Yes, definitely follow the rule of law. Safety is paramount. If people feel safe, they'll come out more. But at the same time, I think there are other factors also at play that are international in nature, that are competitive in nature, that are market dynamics related, that perhaps cannot be fully blamed on the infrastructure. But there are inherent issues that, as a restaurateur, I think the government needs to address. The timing issue, why shut restaurants at 10 o'clock? Why not have easier access? Some of the problems the authorities, especially with the police, that some of the restaurants are facing, they are a major challenge that prevents more and more people from opening restaurants in the state. But I think these are all addressable. I think if everybody works together, the industry, the government, the authorities, if they all work together, it can be the paradise. I don't think it's a paradise lost. I'm very proud of Goa. It's my favorite place in the country to go for a holiday. And I think it'll bounce right back. And I think it will bounce right back with the right concerted efforts and joint efforts.
Right, you're talking about efforts now. I'll go